Greetings, my name is Tyler Robinson. I'm a 19-year-old boy who is a fan of Super Mario Logan ever since 2007 when Super Mario Got Milk made its debut. I loved SML so much I made my own plush-related content like SML. I looked on the deep web trying to find some hidden SML videos cause I was curious, but they were none to be found. But when I saw this one SML video on the deep web, I saw the SML movie, The Abandoned Mansion. It was in November 16, 2018 when this was made. I said to myself, why is there a SML movie on the deep web? Sounds very bizarre. I clicked on it and there was a glitch, flickered for 1 second not knowing the video did that, and then it starts to pan down to Bowser Jr. and Cody while they were playing Mario Tennis Aces on the red couch while there was no music at all. Bowser Jr. says, "You're not gonna beat me, Cody, I'll be your meat," Cody says, and then Junior says a mom joke saying, "I'll turn your mom into pork sausages, Gabo." Suddenly Jeffy pops up to the red couch saying, "Hey Junior, hey Cody, sup J-man, we were just playing some Switch." Jeffy says, "Hey Cody, can I play?" When JR was about to say something, suddenly the news pops up. Goodman states breaking news: MKA woman and all of her kids died from a gruesome death in one of the most abandoned areas to ever existed. Trusted me on this. This is one rabbit hole you do not want to go into. Cody says, "Oh my god, you guys, this is awful." JR says in a softer tone, "Guys, it's only just the woman and her kids, so why should we care?" Cody's phone starts to ring and it was none other than Jackie Chu himself. He says in a terrified voice, "Jackie Chu, Cody, this is your teacher. I'm in grave danger. You three need to come to my mansion immediately. My wife and my kids had died in there, so I need you three to help right away. I'm not going to be there. I'm a spirit that can talk to people on phones, so please come." After Jackie Chu hangs up, Cody was shocked and began to shake constantly. Cody said in a worried expression, Guys, the teacher really needs our help." JR says, "Cody, are you having a seizure?" Cody says, "No JR, our teacher really needs our help." Cody says in disbelief, "We need to find this mansion right away." JR says, "But it's dark outside." But Cody says, "We have to do this." JR says that he's sick of boredom and go along with Jeffy. So the three walk all the way to China and see some kind of sinister field. They found the right mansion they're looking for. JR, Cody, and Jeffy walk up to the mansion shaking in fear. Cody says, "This is the best we can do right now. The sign says that there is no turning back." They went into the mansion and what I saw alongside the three was downright disturbing. There were dead bodies all over the place and it was very dark. This was so creepy, it gives me those SML movies Joseph's House and The Secret Door vibes. Here this is creepy on a level Logan and the cast never think. So the three decided to look around while eerie music fills the mansion. There was a door that led to Jackie Chu's old room as went silent while JR was looking at some very inappropriate stuff from Jackie Chu. There were a ton of porno magazines and there were a lot of clothes and junk scattered all over the place. 10 minutes later, JR, Cody, and Jeffy hear a weird humming noise coming from the door. JR, Jeffy and Cody open the door together as they begin to fall while a giant waterfall in the background begins to splash their clothes, and then suddenly a disembodied door saves the three as they are in a strange catacombs. I was so interested on the video I'd kept on watching. Cody says, "What the F*** kind of mansion is this?" Cody says in question. Then JR says, I'm just lost for words." Jeffy was just speechless and just really wanted his daddy to save him, but unfortunately there's no way out. So the three continue searching while there was mangled bodies all over the place. They start to go upstairs and they saw some kind of weird elevator. When they went into the elevator, it began to fall. The elevator fell so fast JR died from the falling pressure. While Cody and Jeffy made it alive, they realized JR died from the falling pressure. Both Cody and Jeffy were in tears. Cody said, "JR, why would you try to leave me?" Cody was so shocked at the situation he starts to develop the fear nyctophobia. They look around, but suddenly there is a shadowy like being at the light, then vanishes quickly. After all that walking, there was a depressed man in the back, like an actual person in the back. He looks like a depressed homeless man. He looks back and his face freaked me out with a very creepy noise. He slowly approached Cody and Jeffy and starts freakishly running towards them as they found a door. While Jeffy shuts it. Quickly the room lead to a different catacombs. While the two are walking, the figure grabbed Jeffy from the back of his shirt. Jeffy began to scream. Cody looked in fear and he sees Jeffy disappearing from the shadows, thus suffocating him. This is where Cody loses it and begins to be horrified even more. He tries to call 911 but he quickly realized that he left his phone at the red couch, which freaks out Cody. The scene cut to Chef PP wondering where JR went. He looked everywhere but he can barely find him. Chef PP told Bowser that his son was nowhere to be seen. Bowser starts to cry and says Junior's probably in heaven now. Chef PP starts to cry along with Bowser, with them both hugging each other. Chef PP says even though JR can be a irritating bastard, he doesn't deserve to die. Bowser says JR may be a burden but I don't want my beautiful baby boy to die. The scene cut back to Cody still investigating. He heard a muffled noise. A nickel dropped from the shadows. Cody touched the nickel and the figure reveal itself being a more deformed Mama Luigi that came from the dead. He slowly approached Cody. Cody tried to back up a little and then Mama Luigi made a ear-screeching noise. Then the video ends. The video end with a SML question, but it barely wasn't a question at all, saying hey Tyler, I know who you are, I will find you, and I would haunt you until you die. Then it ends there. After the video was over on the deep web, I said in a frightened tone, what the actually hell did I just watched? I'm just lost for words. It was dark and I slept with my parents, still anxious onto what the actual god did I just watched.